Good evening, everybody. I can't actually see quite. Oh yeah, there's quite a few people back there. Thank you so much for joining us at this special event, which has been a vision of mine for, I reckon it's close to 5 years ago. I mentioned to Sarah Carroll one day just in conversation, I've got this idea and, you know, I'm not really a women's liver, but I really love this idea of doing something that celebrates women in music. And, you know, we chatted about it a bit and she was like, yeah, you should go for that. And it just sort of sat on the back burner for a very long time. So I did apply for a grant for this exact project. Well, sorry, it was a little bit bigger than what we're doing tonight. But I wasn't successful, but I had terrific feedback about it. And I just thought, well, I'm just going to hang on to that idea, and when the right time comes, I'll know. And it came along thanks to the City of Greater Geelong as part of the COVID recovery package. And they put out this call for expressions of interest for unique music ideas for this festival that they secured funding for the next 4 years, actually. So you'll be seeing a lot about surround sounds right now, but it's going to happen for 4 years in a row, which is wonderful. And yeah, and I pitched this idea to them, got a call from Fiona Duncan, and you know, we were really excited about it, and it's been included. And so I'm, you know, I might just say right now, thanks to the City of Greater Geelong for getting behind the project and letting it finally eventuate. So yeah, so I'll acknowledge them again later, but before I go on, I'd just like to do the Acknowledgement of Country. And if I get this incorrect, can somebody just help me out? So we wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we're doing this performance tonight, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We thank them for the opportunity to live here in this beautiful land, to work, create, celebrate, play, all the things that we get to do here on Wurrung country. And we thank them for allowing us to use it, and we wish to acknowledge any First Nations people here today. Yeah. And thank you for joining us. So, without further ado, I might just go across. We haven't sat in age order. That was deliberate, that was my thing. But I might just start with Annie Rose Maloney, who's on my right. So, yeah, put your hands together for Annie. Out of everyone here, Annie's probably the person I know the least, but I've admired you from a distance for a long time. I've got your Medina EPs and the whole family has really enjoyed them, and I'm just thrilled that you were able to be a part of this, so thank you so much. I feel like you almost don't need a special introduction because you're like the queen. This is beautiful Sweet Felicia here. Many of you will know Felicia, who has some of the best stories you'll get to hear. Hopefully you'll get to hear some of them tonight, but I've been privileged to hear some of those just in the course of organising this event. And again, it was just so exciting that you could fly down from the Gold Coast and be here with us.
Absolute pleasure.
And we've been really fortunate to have her staying at our house, so we're getting the hang with her too, which is great.
I'm the fortunate one, let me tell you.
So put your hands together for Sweet Felicia, please. And next is my darling second born. If you didn't know, Carly Jorja is my daughter. Most of you probably will know that, but for those of you that don't, there you go, she's my daughter, and she's obviously representing the teenage group. I'm kind of aware that some people would think, teenager, that's interesting to have that in that age group in the story because they're so young and they haven't, you know, probably had tons of experience, but Carly's actually been performing for close to 10 years already, because she's grown up in a musical family, and she's had the privilege of also having input from people like Sarah Carroll and other amazing tutors, Wade Jury, with the boot camp stuff, and people that have been involved in those programs. So she's been writing songs from a very young age, and even as a little kid she used to just sing all the time around the house. So she actually has a bit of experience under her belt, even though she's only just turned 18. So Carly Jorja. And over on my far left is Rach Brennan. So give Rach a big round of applause, please. I had to double check. I feel like I've known Rach for so long that I had to check whether she still slots into the 20s age group or not. And she's still only 28, and I'm thinking, I think I said to you, you're a baby, you're still a baby. So I actually spoke to you about this idea quite some time ago, one day in Geelong in the mall. I think one of us maybe were playing a gig in there, the council gigs, and I just said, I've got this idea, do you reckon you'd be interested in being a part of it? So again, it took a while to come about, but I was really thrilled that you were able to make it work and be here and be a part of it all. So, Rach Brennan. And I guess now is time to perhaps fire up the link. What about, okay. Do I need to introduce myself?
Andrea Robertson, ladies and gentlemen. who has had this dream for quite some time, and she's done a lot of hard work putting this together, I have to say. And I'm really honoured and proud to be a part of it, and to be part of a journey with your family, which is just such, as you say, a musical family that has been such a tradition in Geelong. You know, I remember seeing you guys down in the mall, and I go, oh gee, how fantastic is that, you know? On days when you're feeling really bad, you walk down and see these guys playing in the mall. It's just fantastic. Andrea Robertson.
And you'll see the giant head of the beautiful Sarah Carroll behind us. Put your hands together for Sarah. They've got a beautiful face.
Oh, you're too kind.
You're too short, honey. So can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fine, just as long as you kind of yell into that microphone. I'll be laughing.
You want me to yell into it, or don't yell into it?
I do.
Oh, good.
I do.
Everyone else won't want to hear me yelling into the microphone. Well, it's just beautiful to have you here with us, Sarah, and I wish I could turn around and just look at you the whole time, because I know you're going to be smiling the whole time, and that's what I love about you.
I will.
But this is for the audience benefit. So you get to see Sarah's head. She'll probably disappear in about 40 minutes, because that's when the timing of the Zoom thing cuts off, but we'll bring her back in after we've had a little interval, okay? So if she does disappear, that's the reason why. How are you feeling, darling?
I feel a lot better, thank you. I've had a few days of rest. I started feeling sick on Monday, so still just a bit kind of flat and a bit chesty and stuff. I just did a magnificent cough before you turned me on. Hopefully you didn't hear that.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear it.
But as COVID infections go, I think I've gotten off pretty lightly.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. We're thankful that you can be here with us virtually. Of course, we would love to have you here in person, but this is the next best thing, and it's so good that we've got the technology and the ability to be able to do this. So thank you for joining us, Sarah Carroll. All right, so just so you know, we will have an interval in about an hour's time, and then we'll come back out. So it'll be a roughly 2-hour show with a bit of a break. It's a very loosely organised event. We've chatted together. We did a Zoom call with Felicia so that we could, get to know each other a bit, because Rach hadn't met Felicia before, and I don't think Annie had either, and we haven't seen each other for a while. But we've kind of got a list of things that we would like to talk about. We're going to see where the conversation goes, and there's going to be songs interjected in amongst all that. So I probably need a bit of help for you to keep me on track, ladies. But before we say anything else, might just mention, we were talking out the back that there might be some topics that come up tonight that perhaps aren't so nice. Hopefully there'll be some really beautiful things to share, but life isn't always full of sunshine, as one of my own songs says, and there might be some topics that come up that perhaps could be a bit of a trigger for you or bring up some bad memories. So we apologise for that, but it is life, and we wanted to be really open and honest about what we're doing here tonight. So just wanted to give you that warning. Did I say that okay?
That was perfect.
All right. So I guess maybe I'll just start with, the idea for me came from, I personally love community. I love working with other artists, and I love lifting other people up. And I think Sarah's probably the best example of that I know out of musicians that I've ever come across. I love the way she's so... she's always so joyful, but she really embraces other people, and that's been a great example to me. And that's, I guess I've modelled myself largely on how you've done that, Sarah. And but
thank
not,
you.
Unfortunately, not everybody's like that. It can often be feel like a competition, and you don't get that with other artists. You probably get it, less often than you actually do. But I feel like that's something I would really love to see change in the music industry, particularly as women, because I think if we champion each other on, it only brings more good. I think it's not about always elevating yourself, and of course you want to try and achieve things and set goals, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's great to be able to encourage and spur others on, and that's really something I've strived to do in the time that I've been doing what I'm doing, and I stepped into it at a late age. So I feel like that's probably a good starting point. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do, and I was a bit of a late starter too, I wanted to actually ask of Sarah, because she isn't here and she mightn't be here with us for too much longer, but I wanted to ask you, Sarah, how you started and what actually inspired you musically as a kid. Like what was the first instrument you picked up? And I mean, I know you're from sort of a very musical background yourself, but can you just tell us a little bit about that too, please?
Yeah, sure. There weren't any instruments at home, but my family listened to lots of music on the stereo, and we were taught to use a turntable very early on, and my brother and I were both crazy about radio. And I can't remember not being excited about music ever.
Yeah.
So I think that happened very early on. I'm sure it's the same for all of you. And the first sort of performing opportunities that I got were busking, and also sitting in with older and more experienced musicians who were kind enough to allow me to do that with them. So I was watching people play, and then I'd get the nerve up to ask if I could jump up and have a sing, or maybe have a jam sometime with one or the other. And people like Andy Baylor and Gary Young, who is a very dear friend of mine, and lots of other people who were very, very seasoned, experienced musicians would permit me or include me. So I guess that's one of the reasons why I set such store by doing the same for others.
So you were very gutsy from the very beginning.
Well, I just really wanted to do it. I wanted to be part of the club so badly,
Yeah. I would have been terrified to have done something like that, but eventually...
Well, maybe you just didn't meet the right person. Like these guys, these people were so kind, you know, honestly, that nobody laughed at me ever. And someone would occasionally say, I'd suggest a song and they'd say, well, that might be a bit ambitious for you at the playing level you're at, which is code for there's no way you're ever going to be able to play that song.
There are ways to say that.
That's great. That's so cool.
But they were so lovely always, so I just felt like it was okay to keep going,
Oh, good on you. That's fantastic, isn't it?
I think that's a really good question, and perhaps that might be a nice one to go along. I'm not planning on going along the group for everything, but I think that is probably a really nice one for us to all land. So we're, what got us started with it all. So maybe can I start with you again?
Well, Chris Wilson and Sarah got me started. I think a lot of people in the room are probably you guys have always sort of impacted on the community in a lot of ways. I don't know many people from this region of my age bracket that don't have an affiliation with you and Chris. But my first ever song that I ever wrote came out of, I started learning harmonica with Chris when I was 14 or 15. And the first thing he ever said was, never rely on a man to do a job that you can do yourself. And so I was sitting there in a lesson and I was like, whoa, I thought I was here just to learn harmonica, and all of a sudden these life learnings just came flooding into my my body on a Monday night at 5:30, and Chris taught me how to change my strings on my guitar, and he taught me how to strum along with him while he was playing harmonica. But then I think the biggest breakthrough was him saying, can you sing something? And that was when I did a songwriting workshop, and I think, Sarah, you'll remember it was at the youth courthouse in Geelong.
Yes.
and I didn't have a song. You said part of the brief was bring a song to this event, and there was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 other young musicians that were learning how to be songwriters, and Chris and Sarah were running the workshop, and I didn't have a song, but I had half a song, and I just brought whatever I had, and and Sarah and Chris sort of took me under their wing, and then played my first ever gig with them as well at the down on Paco Festa. And it was just one of those things where that was the moment that I started, and having the belief of Sarah and Chris and everyone else in that room, that sparked my musical career, I think, and that feeling of performing and trusting your own songwriting.
And you don't forget about the rhythm sock.
Oh yeah.
Did you need to tell us about that?
I think Sarah was more impressed with it than I was. But just putting an egg shaker in my sock as a rhythmic accompaniment to my guitar playing when I didn't have a lot of So the birth of my first song came from Sarah and Chris and their influence. So I think a really nice person to have on the panel with. For me to have kickstarted what my musical adventures. So.
And I think actually one of the biggest common thread that I saw, other than all being women, when I approached the people to be involved in this, it was like I sat back and I thought Chris and Sarah have had an influence on all of us through music, friendship, mentoring, whatever it might be, even including you, Rach. Like, you've worked with Sarah and you supported Chris at gigs, and Carly's benefited from his teachings, and I learnt harmonica. You don't know that, but I did have some lessons with him, and my goodness, he challenged me more than anybody else has in a long time. But it was a good thing. He was like really constantly pushing and trying to make me get out of my comfort zone, which I don't like. I like to sort of stay in that safe place. But there's a real common thread there, Sarah, for both you and Chris in our lives. So got to acknowledge that. Yeah. How about you, Rach? What got you into music?
So I came from quite like a musical family. My mum, who's over here, her dad was such a renowned jazz musician. He played piano and sang his whole life. He unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and it was after a weekend of playing 18 gigs. And it was quite it was crazy. But he was a musician his whole life, and I was really inspired by that. But I started writing songs when I was very young. I remember writing songs to try and ask my mum if I could stay at friends' houses and things like that, and just changing lyrics to like Aqua songs and stuff, and had heaps of confidence. And then I think as I got older, I kind of lost a bit of that confidence and thought that I'll never be able to do that. Like, that's not in my future as like a career path. But no, with my brother Liam, who plays a lot, like, he was doing gigs, and I was like on the sidelines, like, I want to do that as well. And eventually met some people and joined the community, like the Geelong community, and I definitely like that's such an inspiring thing, to meet people that are like-minded and that make you feel safe and comfortable to express yourself and to try new things and to put yourself out there. So yeah, I've always been super supported to, drop out of high school and study music, and my parents like, go for it, and haven't looked back. So it's a great community to be part of, and very lucky.
Terrific. Carly, your turn.
Oh, okay. Well,
what got you into music, Carly?
I really want. No. Okay, so everyone knows The Family, I'm guessing. Is that a yes, or is it just all good signs? Yeah. Okay. I've ever since I can't even remember when, but I used to get up and sing at church with Mum, and then Mum started doing gigging and stuff. And then she'd get me up on a song. I think it was normally the clapping song. I reckon. Yeah,
that's probably that one a few times, didn't we?
And I learned ukulele from Sarah for many, many years, and then I learned guitar from Sarah. And I don't know. I just eventually we started doing the Von Robertsons, and I started doing my own stuff. And my first song that I wrote was called The Guessing Song, and I think I was 9, and it went through a bunch of different kind of riddles of what animal it could be, and wasn't very good, but I liked it, and I performed it in front of my class. I've been playing forever. It's crazy, and but Heath and I, when I started doing my own stuff and performing, it was with Heath, as Keith and Harley, and I've really just gotten into songwriting and doing my own stuff, which is cool. Yeah.
You can regularly hear Carly, well, in many rooms in the house, but usually in her bedroom or out in the backyard during COVID. She'd set up a picnic rug and take out a drink and some snacks and the guitar, and then I've got proof of that with the dog sitting on the blanket with her while she's out there writing songs, and it's just been a very big part of your life. And in fact, the last gig I played when I was pregnant with you, I was 3 weeks off giving birth to you, and I was massive, but that was down at Anglesey. And so you know, the whole singing while you're in the womb thing, probably, I'd like to think that might have had an impact on you as well.
and now she plays bass, Carly plays bass and sings too, which is very tricky. So you learnt from Tim Neal, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 3 or 4 years, and I'm a bass gal, so.
Yeah, but you also drum and sing,
Yeah, I
which is very
drum and
tricky.
sing.
Yeah.
I do a bit of everything.
Yeah. And she's currently writing a musical.
Okay. Yes, I am writing a musical.
Don't tell anyone. Well, I first started playing music when my brother didn't want me to play his drum kit. And it was set up in our bedroom because the 3 of us kids all slept in one room with the drum kit. And it was a beautiful drum kit. I'll never forget it, old Ludwig kit. And he said, "You touch that kit and I'm gone, you're dead." And I used to put the stereo on and go, "Riders on the storm." Because then it had that ride cymbal going through the whole thing, and I taught myself that. I think that was the first thing I ever played. And then I asked him to teach me to play drums, and he said, "Nah, get lost. You know, little sister, you little brat, get lost." And so his mate, who he used to go to church at a church where we were living on the Gold Coast, and he was a mate of my brother's. I don't know how they became friends anyway, but he said, "Look, Felice," he said, "I know your older brother is a bit sort of mean to you at times, but I can see that you've got music in you. Would you like to learn to play guitar?" And I said, "Oh, yes, please." His name was Don Searle. I'll never forget him. He was a very, very kind man. And so he sat down and he showed me guitar, acoustic guitar, and he taught me The House of the Rising Sun. And he said, "If you learn all those chords, you'll be able to play basically any song you hear on the radio, because most of them are 3 or 4 chords, you know." And he was pretty much right. So I learned House of the Rising Sun on the guitar. And then, oh geez, did my brother crack the shits? Because I could play better than he could, couldn't I? Yeah.
That's great.
You know what brothers are like, Sarah? So he was, I think, secretly proud of me, but yeah, that was kind of how I started with the acoustic guitar, and just used to pick up songs from the radio, go to sleep listening to the radio, and then try and work out the songs, you know, as they played. I think the big hit when I was a kid was "I Rode My Bicycle Past Your Window Last Night," you know, Melanie Safka, and all those kind of songs, you know. So and then how I got into bass was I used to go to my brother's rehearsals, and in those days they'd have the big full drum kit and the big fridge of amps and the stack of Marshalls and the 18-inch Sherwood Vega bass bin with the acoustic 370 head that just was like John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, you know. And the bass player Gary said to me one day, he goes, "You're here all the time." He said, "You play guitar, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Have you ever played a bass?" And I said, "Well, I wouldn't know what to do with it." And he said, "Here, try this." So he had this Telecaster bass, which I put on, and I said, "Well, how do you play it?" And he said, "Well, the top 4 strings are exactly the same as a guitar, and you just go from there." So I hit the E string, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. The feeling went from my feet up to my head and back down again, and I just went, oh my God, this is beautiful. I love you. And so that's when I decided it wasn't what I wanted to do, it's what I had to do. And so I said to Gary, will you teach me how to play bass? And he said, yeah, sure, no worries. So he came round to my flat. I was about 18 at the time. He came round to my flat and he was going to show me a Pink Floyd song, but I couldn't hear the bass. I couldn't distinguish the bass from the rest of the music. So when I listened to music, I listened to the whole song with everything in, you know. And so he taught me how to isolate and listen to the different instruments. So it started with you can hear the vocal. Yes, I can hear the vocal. You can hear the guitar. Oh yeah, I can hear the guitar. Now separate the guitar. Yeah. Right, now what's the next thing you can hear? Oh, well, you can hear the drums, definitely. Go, okay, can you hear the bass drum? And I go, yep, I can hear the bass drum. And he goes, now where's the bass? And I went, yep, I can hear it. I can hear it. I can isolate the bass. And so that was how I kind of had this new understanding of music, which I'd never had. And he then showed me how to listen to that bass line, showed me the bass line, which was Pink Floyd Money. And he showed me that bass line. He said, if you can play that by next week, I will show you how to play bass, okay? And so I did, and I worked, and I did it, and I did it on the record. And I finally worked it out, except for the last little bit. And he came in and the next week, and he said, right, show me. So I went, dun, ding, ding, dun, 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 and played it, most of it. And he said, oh, that's fantastic, you can play bass now. Good on you, see ya.
Cheeky.
I know, but it worked.
Yeah.
And he said, no, seriously, he said, that if you can do that, you can play bass. I'll show you a few pointers and a few other things, but you're pretty much on your way. And anything you want to listen to or play, just put on your records, pick your favourite tunes and go from there. And so that's basically what I did. So I haven't had a musical theory education per se. I'm an ear player. I find it very difficult to, as some people will attest to, sometimes follow charts or sometimes understand a theory. I'm getting a little bit better as I get older.
Put a whistle in your
Put a whistle in my ashes. But yeah, that's basically
at home.
Yeah, that's right. Fantastic. But that's basically how my kid music story. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good one.
What about you, Mum?
What about me? When you were talking about putting it on the record, taking it off, I did a bit of that too, but then it got to cassettes, so it used to be hit rewind.
Oh yeah,
and listen over and over to work out what was either the words or what was being played. But I guess for me it started with my mum's here tonight, and she was kind of the go-to person for singing at weddings and funerals and special events, and so I was kind of just used to Mum always being asked to sing at things, and there was a bit of music in the house. Mum and Dad had a pretty decent hi-fi setup, and in our living room, and I used to love getting out there and playing the records. I was the baby of the family, so sisters were probably off in their rooms by then, and I kind of had the space to myself, but I was given the opportunity to learn piano as well, so we were all offered that opportunity. My older sister didn't continue with it, but one of them, I think she's here tonight, I think Auntie Carly saw you. We both continued learning, and I probably didn't take enough advantage of that at the time. I love playing by ear. My sight reading's really limited, but I could have been a lot better if I had been more disciplined. But I do understand theory, and I can read music at a real push, but I hate doing it. So I got to the point at a very young age that I was making up my own songs and just trying to work them out myself, and I was a bit shy about it. I didn't probably want my big sisters to find it because I knew I'd get teased to death. And I did used to sing made up songs into my little Sony cassette recorder quite regularly, and there was one time that Carolyn did find that tape, and I don't know if she remembers that, but I just didn't think I'd ever live it down. She teased me like crazy about that, and me making up my little songs into the cassette recorder, and pretending that I was a rock star and doing whole concerts. It wasn't just like a couple of little tunes. I was doing the whole show and thanking people for the applause and everything.
So yeah, I deserve to be teased for that, and I've always loved music. I think I've probably just always been singing to myself. I think I used to drive my friends nuts because I would always be singing, but I would, records would be on and I'd be working out harmonies, and I just naturally did it. So it's just something that's always been there, but that's thanks to mum and dad encouraging it too. So I'm really privileged to have had that background. And then when I met David, he started learning drums, and we met through the youth group. And we've been married for 30 years this year, but we've been together for a heck of a long time because we got together when we were 15, but we've been playing music together since we were about 12. So, in the church youth group setting, and I guess started playing in a different way. And then, when you start playing with other musicians, it kind of changes to just sitting at home by yourself and playing at the piano and stuff. So, I got into playing music, and mostly in the church setting at that point, but then we got into our 20s and we actually had a band for a while that we did a mixture of covers, and I was doing a lot of songwriting again then, so we used to throw some originals in the mix, and and by then I probably just started teaching myself guitar because I kept talking about it. This is common thread with Dave and I talk about things a lot and I don't do it, and then he'll just push me into it. So he bought me my own guitar, and I was like, okay, I better really do something with this now. And then I talked about learning harmonica for years, so he booked me lessons with Chris for Mother's Day one year. It's like, just go and start doing it, So I've just always loved music, and songwriting's been a really good expression for me through some difficult times as well, which I think we can all attest to. I don't always use those songs in public places, but I've poured my heart out into them at times, and it's been part of the healing process for difficult things and everything. So I guess that kind of answers the question a bit.
I have to change this chair. I'm going to go and grab one of those chairs because
You need something more comfy?
it's just
A bit hard? I'll get it for you.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. Thank you. I feel like my lady's just got a totally crammed.
Yeah, a bit more padding on that maybe. Sarah, are you up to doing a song for us at all? Would you be able to do a song? Or are you well enough to do that?
I think so.
Would you be happy to slot one in here?
Sure.
That'd be great, because I'm just conscious that we don't want to lose you from the stream. I know we can rejoin you easily enough, but maybe if we hear from you now with a song, that'd be great.
All right. Have you got any kind of song in mind, especially?
Just love to hear what you'd like to do for us.
All right. All right. Well, I'm going to do a song that I'm really enjoying singing. Oops. Sorry. I'm attached to you all by a lead, so I'm not accustomed to that sort of constraint. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, I'll play this one. This is a kind of a COVID one, about being quite glad to be locked down for that first period of time, and just some of the things that were going through my head about it all. Can you hear that okay? Down to, I refuse to feel down to or hard done by. Wipe the shadow of the dark side of the moon, the cold face of the mountain. I'm a flower reaching up higher, past the mud and the misery, into the shivering sunshine, and the pure atmosphere where the spirits collide in a joyful reunion. Make love with each other and send it sounds to the ground, whose wings are weighed down by inescapable sorrow and worry. castles and your catamarans. You'll only swim in your hand. Let's hit the beach together. Don't you? I refuse to be done to or done by. I'm a flower reaching up high. Lost the bulls and the fisticuffs to when rain falls softer and the sound travels further. Unusual kindness takes root on planet that's slowing down, spinning hay to orbit where it can go away to nothing, leaving space unencumbered. The stars to shine brighter for we appear in the white light as the beautiful creatures we are, without flags or anthems or weapons, growing breeze in our backyard, sharing love by satellite. We are lovers, we are lifeguards. We are flowers reaching higher. We are flowers reaching higher. Never done to. And that's all. Excuse me.
That's beautiful, Sarah, and impressive that you coughed in time. Yeah. And you look beautiful too. You look like a beautiful flower yourself.
Aww. Thanks, darlings.
Okay, so we've talked about how we got into music or what's inspired us. How about talking about people who have influenced us as songwriters a little bit before her, maybe other artists and stuff. Rach, you happy to go and jump in there first?
I find this question very hard. I find there are so many kind of like avenues which I draw influence from. But I know like when I was younger, I grew up a little bit over in Ireland, and I started kind of really finding my voice. I was young, but like singing a lot there, and I had an Irish accent, and so I find that a lot of my influences like come from the Corrs and listening to their music, and I think like I actually find it like it's he's not a woman, but my brother Liam like influences me a lot, and just like people that I've kind of worked with in like, you know, in Geelong and stuff, and I just, it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah,
exactly,
because there's so many.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Can I borrow your guitar?
Go for it.
I'd like to play the first song I ever wrote.
Yes.
Would that be alright? Have you got one? Look at that! All the mod cons, plectrum and everything. Thank you. So I wrote this one before I actually started playing bass. When the dark of the night surrounds us and the moon drops pennies on our eyes, I'll take them off 'cause I want to see through the black that's in the skies. I want to see the things to see on. I'm still inside at night when the stars are out. All you think they are, or are they fiery lights? To think that in a far off land there's someone there like me, looking on us as a star to come here in their dream. Well, would they, could they, have they, will they? Well, no one really knows, but always we will have our dream as long as our love goes. To ride a golden galleon of something never seen, to cruise on dark that's not so dark where no man's ever been. Would you come if I asked you, or would you stay so blind to miss the wondrous things you see through space, through time, through time, through space, through time, through time, through space, through time, through time.
I'm glad I'm not playing my first song that I ever wrote. That's incredible.
Would you like to do it now?
No.
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 What was it about? Trying to get out of going to school or something? Did you say before?
No, it would have been about a boy. I always
Yeah.
about a boy.
Carly wrote a really sweet one about birds that we recorded at home. It was for a school project. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. But I won't make you do it tonight. Hey Annie, I might look over to you. We were chatting out back in the green room before, and you were sort of saying how, I'm just changing direction here, but you know, life's really been getting in the way of your music. Like you've done a lot of music, but you know, life, trying to sustain yourself as a musician is really hard. So you do have to find other avenues to earn money, basically, so you can live. And you know, you were saying how you've just made this radical decision to give up your job.
Yeah.
You go on with the story. You're changing direction again all of a sudden, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I did start out playing music with a band called Medina, which was with my brother Hugh, and we played a lot of gigs, and I had quite a lot of momentum as a younger person. I'm now 33, but I reckon when I was 23, I sort of hit my peak, really. And
Still to come.
and then Medina broke up for various reasons, and then I got a job, and I got a real job, as in like a full-time job away from music, and I hadn't had the time to do music since. I've always flirted with it and tried to get some sort of music happening, and still recording now and then, but I haven't been recording or performing. So then I just quit my job on Friday. So it's quite a timely event. If there's omens and signs that you're doing the right thing, it's in having a gig land on a Sunday after you've quit your job to play music. But yeah, we'll be moving away from full-time work and opening up some space for being creative again, which will be really nice. And there's a lot of, I suppose, when you think about people that have inspired you to take the leap and be a musician in this day and age, it's something that I haven't had the confidence to do. For 10 years I've put that on the back burner, just worrying about financially and worrying, are you good enough to do music, and it's a shame that those sorts of things riddle your mind when all you want to do is create, that you worry about, are you good enough and will you make enough money? And they're sort of sometimes the factors that take you away from your creativity. So I'm just giving that up, that way of thinking, and had to really sort of step into that and make a pretty strong decision not to worry about money and whether I'm good enough, and to trust that money will come and I am good enough. And so this moment, and I think, there are so many examples of people that have done it, and obviously everyone on this stage and in this panel are examples of people that are doing it, which is an incredible thing, especially for the Geelong region and the community, as well as the Melbourne community. And if we didn't have people like this, there's a heartbeat within the communities, the music scene, and I think that we don't show ourselves off enough. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying at not having a full-time job and making music. So
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, really good to hear. Now, as you were talking, I did think of something else I was going to ask you, but it's gone. So
Yeah.
that's bad. But would you like to do a song now? You're in a spot that you're like, yeah, happy to jump into something right here and now?
Yeah, I'm just not plugged in, so can I do that? Is that alright? Am I going to make a banger?
I think we got it covered.
Beautiful.
Well, I think this is a song that I think came out after Medina broke up, and then I thought I was going to do music again, but then got a full-time teaching job. This song was written and recorded on my iPhone, and then and I sent it around to friends, and they were like, "Oh, that's nice," and I was like, "Well, that's nice feedback," and so I thought, and I guess it's the first song that I wrote, probably the first song that I wrote away from my band Medina, and the first sort of song that I guess broke me into trying to write songs on my own without having a band around me. Am I coming through? It's called Time for Gladys, and it's I guess it's finding happiness in whatever way that is, and it's, for me, I was quite sad when I wrote it, so it's interesting how I was very, very sad, but this is quite a song about celebrating happiness. Hidden all the parts I don't want to show. Hidden all my splinters and my scars. I've lived alone from everyone so long, I haven't learned. Can someone love you just the way you are? Can someone love you just the way you are? I met you but I didn't see it coming. Met you and I looked the other way. When I ran west, you chased me west, but north is where you caught me. I didn't think that you were gonna stay. I didn't think that you were gonna stay. So lay it down, sadness. You are the one who's followed me around, but it is time for Gladys. And I don't know how I am the one she's found. Gave to me the last thing that I hoped for. You understood the things that make me cry. Didn't shy away from all my fear, my guilt, my shame. You loved me and I didn't need to try. You loved me and I didn't even try. So lay it down, sadness. You are the one who's followed me around, but it is time for Gladys. And I don't know how I am the one she's found. Why don't you lay it down, sadness? You are the one who's followed me around.
Thank you, Annie. That was just beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
I think there was a time. So when I first started playing music, I played a lot of gigs with Medina, and I think that at that time, as like I was only 17, 18, and I didn't know any other women that played. Like we didn't like, kind of were playing stuff, and I looked up to you so much at that time, and Medina in general, but like even your guitarist, I want that guitar, I want to copy it. But like, it's so nice to hear you play again. I'm so glad that you're doing it again.
And I guess that leads nicely into the topic of, and I just want to let all the gents know here that this is not a man bashing session at all. It's a women's event, yes, but you know, it has been a male-dominated industry for eons, and that's still, although there's been some really big improvements in that area and a lot more recognition and opportunities being afforded to women, it is still an obstacle that comes up, and we talked about some personal experiences with that. So, you know, I think, you know, for me, I personally haven't had a great deal of that in my life, but I think that's largely because my journey has been largely David and I. So, you know, what I'm doing is my songwriting, but I've had a really supportive man in my life who's actually pushed me into doing this after knowing I could, and the self-doubt, you know. You touched on that too, Annie. I think we can all relate to that, and probably I think people would be lying if they say that they don't. Like, it's a very real wrestle, probably is for everybody in the arts, any creative field. It's, you know, there's a constant wrestle. Am I good enough? Should I really be doing this? And, you know, a little confession right now, when I found out that I could go ahead with this project, there was a moment I said to David, it's a great idea, but I shouldn't be there. I'm not good enough to be a part of this. So I felt like I maybe would be the odd one out, if I'm honest. That's just that little wrestle inside me. And it's like, I know, of course, I'm good enough to be here, but there is that element of doubt that sort of chips away at you constantly, and it's a real battle to fight that off. And sometimes you sit in a really good headspace and it's not an issue at all, but it does come against you regularly, doesn't it? Yeah. So
I think also if you're an artist and you live on your own and you don't get feedback from other artists around you, and I've kind of noticed that since I've moved to Queensland. Like I've moved back to what was my home on the Gold Coast, but there's not a lot of musicians that I personally know on the Gold Coast. A lot of my muso friends are in Brisbane or Northern Rivers, and it's kind of like Geelong and Melbourne. Geelong people would go to Melbourne a lot, but Melbourne people don't come to Geelong a lot. And it's kind of like that, you know. But I had some friends drop in just before this because, you know, I felt the same way. I thought, oh my God, you know, I'm going to be part of this beautiful group of women, and what am I going to talk about and all that sort of stuff. And you start doubting yourself. It's just craziness, you know. And my friends had dropped in, and I toured Germany with them, the Bees, and Rob and Dita, you know Rob and Dita, Sarah, and anyway, they popped in, and I ran a couple of things by them, and they said, yep, do that one. I went, right, now I'm right. And sometimes all you need is that just little bit of feedback from somebody that you might not have around you at the time, you know, like a husband or a friend or just, you know, someone that is close to you that can give you an honest opinion, that you don't want them to say, oh, that's fantastic, oh, geez, you're great and all of that. You just want somebody who can give you honest criticism, you know what I mean? So we kind of need that too, along with the self-doubt. You get that positive, or as I learnt in university, because I graduated from Deakin University in 2018, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm really proud about. And I learned in there that you can have a criticism sandwich. So you say something nice about somebody or their work, and then you give them a bit of criticism, and then you say something nice at the end.
that's a good one to remember.
Yeah. So we all kind of need that. And I think when you get that can absolutely destroy the self-doubt. So that it's a kind of a good thing, really. But anyway, I just thought I'd add that in.
No, that's good. I mean, even Carly had a very recent experience. Just last night we played a lovely gig down at the Ocean Grove Park that Rach actually helped organise she booked all the bands for it, and when you rang me and or messaged me about it, it was like, would I like to play? And I was like, yeah, do you want it as me or the family band or what? And it was up to me. So, I could have done an Andrea Robertson gig, but I thought, no, this would be a great one to do as a family because it's a local gig, an outdoor festival in the park and another part of Surround Sounds. And we had the best night. It was so good. The weather was perfect. And but afterwards I didn't realise it was an acoustic festival. You had to play all acoustic instruments, including the bass. So Carly borrowed an acoustic bass. And I didn't find out till afterwards that the gentleman that let her use the bass automatically assumed, and Carly probably rightly thinks it was because she's a girl, that she wouldn't know what to do. You go on with the story, honey.
So I got there and I asked him where the bass was because I was going to set up. And then he's like, oh, it's all good. I got it. I can tune it for you. And he's like, oh, you might not be able to get right into it straight away. It's like driving a new car and everything. I'm like, oh, I'm a bass player, mate. And I didn't say anything because I just wanted to play the gig. But and he got out and then he didn't even let me plug in the lead or anything. I was like, come on. And then I played, and we played really well. I think that's the best we've played for a long time, but
we haven't played for a while.
No, yeah, but and then afterwards he just kind of took the guitar from me and didn't really say anything. And
He did pay you a compliment.
Yeah,
I heard him. He was surprised.
He was
He was like, oh, you can play bass.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I doubted you, miss.
Yeah. Well, you do it with integrity.
Darling,
Yeah.
Well, I had a similar thing at Narooma playing with Chris one year, and I'd set up the Ampeg rig, the Ampeg bass rig, and pulled my sound, and I go up to check the vocal mic, and I've turned around, and there's this guy twiddling with the knobs on the amp, and I said, "What are you doing, mate?" And he goes, "Oh, just pulling the sound for you, love." Okay, thank you, mate. I've already done that. Could you just F off? And he said, "Oh, there's no need to be like that about it." And I said, "Well, actually, would you say that to me if I was a bloke?" And he said, "Actually, now that I think about it, probably not." And I said, "See, there you go." And he said, "Thanks for the heads up." And I really appreciated him. He just recognised his mistake, and he thought he was helping out. But it's an actual kind of an insult unless you go to the person first and say, "Are you right with that? Do you need a hand with the sound? Or do you know how to operate the amp? Do you know how to use these?" Or whatever, that's fine. But somebody coming up and just changing your sound on you because you're a woman and you don't know how to operate equipment. Is this thing on? Hello?
Did that hurt your ears, Sarah? No, it's a very real issue, isn't it? So
It is, and not all men are like that. Absolutely not. And we have a lot of men in our lives who are absolutely incredibly supportive. But I also have friends of an older age, my age, who don't understand about making you feel like you're there to just be looked at. For instance, one of the people at the Blues Club said to me one day, "Are you going to wear those sexy cowboy boots?" I said, "Dunno, mate, dunno. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm not wearing them for you, okay?"
Are they the ones you got on right now?
No, these are not my sexy ones. But I had a bit of a go at him because he was, and he won't mind me telling you, he was the president of the Blues Club at the time. And he said, he came to me later and he said, "Oh, I'm really sorry about, the sexy cowboy boot thing, but I don't really know why." And he said, "I know it upset you, but I don't really know why." And I said, "That's okay, thanks for coming and asking, because now I can explain it, that it's not just about how I look or whatever." Like I've even had people say to me, "Oh, just pull your zip down a little bit, love, you get a lot more gigs, It's like, no thanks. No, I'm actually a musician. Once we went to Melbourne, we played, and I sat down next to Dutch Tilders, and Dutch Tilders says to me, I got a blonde sitting next to me in his fake accent. And and Ken Farmer, beautiful drummer. Ken Farmer was on the drums. And he said, "Hey, Dutch, that's not a blonde, that's a bass player, mate." Thanks, Ken. Yeah. So, you know, it's a bit about education and a bit about standing up for yourself, but sometimes you do get a bit tired of it. So, you know, it's nice when people can actually come back and apologise and sort of say, what did I do wrong and how can I fix that, you know?
And we did talk about how we've all been fortunate to have men in our lives who are really respectful and don't do that for us or to us. And you mentioned that in our Zoom chat about how the guys that were in Medina, how you know, you were the front woman of that band, but they would call it out if stuff was going on. They would have your back. And I remembered you talking about that. Do you want to say anything else there?
I was. I think Medina was quite conscious of the fact that I was the only sort of woman in the band, and we would never book a gig where there was every support act or every gig we had to play had to have other females in the room and in the lineup to play. But even as you were just speaking about, even though Medina boys were so beautiful, I do also remember feeling like a very, very much a mother to the boys, and you know, driving them here, there and everywhere and paying for their beers and making sure they were fed and booking the gigs and getting the CDs ready and making sure everyone was on the stage at the right time. But never once do I remember sort of getting a lift from them or getting a beer from them or feeling like I had my back covered as well. And despite them being beautiful boys, there was sort of like that, something that is innately expected as the front woman and as the leader and just as a woman in general within that band of young men, that I had to take on quite a load that almost probably in the end did burn the band out in a way. Although there has been conscious ways of making sure there was equality in the room and at gigs, behind the scenes, and there are deeper issues that I can reflect upon that I noted as an only female person in a male band.
Yeah. And you've been the same too, Rach, haven't you? You've been the front woman of Rach Brennan and the Pine. So have you got anything you'd like to tell us about that?
Again, the guys that I worked with are all incredible guys, and I think there's when you do have that imbalance in terms of, you know, like 4 guys and 1 girl, like even though they're there for me and stuff, like there's definitely more lack of it. It is like a boys' club, and they would always have my back if something went down, but like, you know, you get them together and they get all excited, and like you kind of do end up just being the one who feels like they're kind of organising things and can you please get this ready and telling everyone what to do, and they get to have a lot of the fun. And they're the louder kind of bigger personalities. But I was just thinking when you're talking about like clothing and like you were saying what you're wearing and stuff, like I when I started, like I was really nervous about what I would wear on stage, and like I really wanted to be taken seriously, and I actually kind of being like around the boys and stuff would find myself like I wore a lot of dresses when I was like a teenager. I had a million dresses, and I was quite girly, and then or girly, whatever that means, but when I became more of a musician, I started wearing like button-up shirts and jeans and boots and like kind of dressing in that more masculine, and that made me feel a lot more confident and commanding and kind of in my kind of masculine energy.
Feel more protected too, don't you,
and
in a way?
I kind of wanted to be like, I wanted to be taken seriously, I guess, and I felt like I didn't want to be like sexualized, or like I wanted people to think that I was like talented and smart, and like I didn't want people to think, oh, she's good looking, or like if anything, I didn't want to be that at all. Like I wanted to be like just plain Jane. I don't know this is just, I guess, language that we used. What does that even mean? But like wanted to like I don't know, defeminize myself to make myself feel more like what I saw as being a musician, because you know I just saw all the boys doing it, and I wanted to be like that. It's like, oh well, if I want to be like that, I need to look like this and be like, yeah. And I've tried to reclaim that as like, and you know, wear a skirt on stage, and it's a very strange thing to think about like that, but it's just things that go through your head that make you feel more comfortable, or make you feel more serious, like taken more seriously.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's very strange.
I'm just looking at the time now. I reckon we should probably get a couple more songs in. Would you be happy to do one now, Rach?
I can do one.
Yeah.
Still.
Probably doesn't tie in with what we were just talking about,
Yeah,
but
that's okay. I wasn't sure what I was going to play, but I guess I think of something pretty quick.
yeah, I'll put you on the spot then, didn't I?
No, you're fine.
I think I warned you that would happen though.
That's okay. I'll just make sure in tune. It's okay. So this song is a song that I wrote. It's a new song, I guess, but not really, because it was written just before COVID, but I haven't been able to play it very much in public. But it's a song that I'm really enjoying. I wrote it in a little session with my brother Liam, and it's called Want Me To. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. It's dry now. I'm so nervous. I get so nervous to talk. Like, I feel so much more comfortable just playing a set of music for people. It's like way more comfortable than talking. I'm not the kind of girl who thinks too much about the way I am perceived by men. I'm just the way I am. But something's changed. You're taking me to places I have never been.
Thank you, Rach. That's really sweet. So nice to hear. I'm just really enjoying sitting here listening to all this. I hope you are too. I'm enjoying it a lot.
We've still got Sarah too.
Yeah, I know. You're just sitting back there. You're happy where you are for the moment?
No.
Or is she frozen? Oh, no, I thought you were frozen for a minute. We like that. Hey, Carly, can I get you to do a song and maybe tell us a bit about that song or how you came to write the song? What have you chosen to do tonight from your own repertoire?
Well, it was actually really hard for me to choose what songs I wanted to do because I just keep writing, and then I write a song that I really love, and then I write another one. I'm like, oh, but I want to do this one. But the first one I'm gonna do is on the bass, and I've never performed it on the bass. So, thank you. While Felicia gets it set up, it's called "Put on a Show," and it's got a different feel to my kind of songwriting. I have allowed myself a bit of room with my vocals to experiment, which I don't like doing because I like just singing the straight melody, but I've challenged myself with this one. And I wrote this song after I watched a movie called Promising Young Woman, which is so good. Go watch it. It's I'm studying it for media this year, and it just inspired me to write a song. I don't know why, but it's one of those ones where you get really creative at night when you're meant to be sleeping. But yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. You both look happy together. I guess I'll back away and leave. I'll be with me. I'll be alone in my house, lay on my couch, staring at the ceiling, ignoring my feelings. The saddest thing is that I don't like to address my worst issues. Instead, I choose to shut them out as well as all of you. Don't cry or show emotions. Quit acting like you're the only one who could get hurt. Think wisely as you make those decisions. You do not want to upset the other girl. The saddest thing is that I don't like to address my worst issues. Instead, I choose to shut them out as well as all of you. Put on a show, hide the truth. It's not worth causing damage to yourself or anyone else. You do not deserve a reward. Shut your mouth, nobody cares, they do not see. I'm living in a hell. The saddest thing is that I don't like to address my worst issues.
I shut him out too.
Am I allowed to say well done, darling? Of course I can. I guess I probably should do a song too, because as anticipated, the night is just flying by, and we might not get to do all that we were thinking we'd get to do. That might mean that there'll have to be another series, perhaps there'll be another show down the track. But I might just pull one out here as well, and then we can have a bit of a break and use the loos, have some snakes and get some sugar into us, and then you can go have some drinks and whatnot, and we'll come back in. But I might do the one I showed you today, Felicia. It's called All That Glitters, and it's one that I've written during COVID, although it's not related to it at all. But I found I would love to, like when COVID first happened, and I really don't want to talk about it too much because it's just had far too much coverage in the news, and it's consumed our lives for so long. But I was I tried to see the positives in it, and thought this is an opportunity to do heaps of songwriting, which was a great thought, but it didn't happen for me, and it just frustrated me incredibly. So I had stacks of music, and I've got so much recorded into my phone of little melodies and almost complete songs just without the words. I just dried up with the words, and it really frustrated me. But this is probably one of a handful of songs that I have written in that time that I really like, and I would like to think it will be on my next album whenever that happens. But it's called All That Glitters. I might just check the tuning before I start, because it's been sitting here for a little while, so I don't know if you need to mute it or not, guys, but thank you. So hidden up the top there, we've got my son Heath Robertson doing front of house sound, and Trent Humphries, who's running and managing the live stream and working alongside Heath, of course, because when we had to make that last minute change, Trent was going to be doing sound, and he was going to try and get someone in to do the live stream. Then couldn't get anybody at short notice, and I said, what about Heath, because he's worked with you, and he's he did work for Bellarine AV, and he's pretty knowledgeable when it comes to mixing and music and everything, so it was perfect. So thanks Heath for stepping in at late notice, and Trent for being so flexible. Can you give them a clap, please? I can't see them, it's too bright.
Throwing off all my troubles, leaving behind all my cares, focusing on what really matters. That is why you're still here. I was tired of being told by the world that I need more to make me happy, and I've always known all that glitters isn't gold. But I got caught up, I got tangled in the same trappings as others. I'm not immune to those things, but thankfully you came along. You pulled me out of my misery. I that is why you're still here.
I reckon we might just have a short break here. So go and buy yourselves a drink. We'll go and rehydrate a bit, use the loo, all that stuff. Maybe about 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most, and we'll come back in and we'll do some more talking and singing.